هم گلوی زین حدیث عاقبت سوستر کنم، خنده مستانه ای زین تلخی نابشرا، اشک دل فریاد مستانه به نامش پرکنم. یاد بادا یاد بادا یاد بادا ساقیا آن روی همچو هورا، آن نگاه اهل در احمق مشهور را. خنده بی مثل او بر دل دکانی هم زده، پنهان کرده در دل و مغز و روانم تو را. جستش همچو پری زیبا خرامان دلبرک، چشمکش مانند پتکی قلب عاشق را ترک، لب نشان روی مهرویان همی دارد به رخ، گیسوان چون کمندش فاصله عاشق درک.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Let me just try and get this fire going again. somehow that will hopefully get those logs going. These logs don't burn very well, unfortunately. Oh, there's my pussycat, look. Oh, isn't that sweet? Let me turn the music down a little bit. Good evening, everybody. What are we in, our third week already of January? Second week. Third week already, haven't we, of January? I don't know how many weeks we have been in lockdown now. We had a little open, a reprieve and an open here in Vienna for about 2 weeks just before Christmas. And we have been in lockdown since the beginning of November, otherwise, apart from those 2 weeks or so just before Christmas. So we're beginning to all get a little bit crazy around here because we can't go out and meet friends. We can't go to restaurants and everything. So it's been a bit of a tough week, I have to say, with that at the moment. But I haven't seen you since the inauguration, and I was very, very happy to see that the inauguration in the US went very, very well. I hope you all enjoyed it very much too and are happy with the governmental changes that have taken place in the US. I know I certainly am, because I hope there'll be a little bit more positive air coming out of that side of the world for now. I'm going to get going and start reading straight away as we carry on with our reading of 1001 Arabian Nights. The music you're hearing, by the way, is the music of Godwin-Seidl. And a couple of announcements. We will be doing a special reading again around the 6th of February in a very, very beautiful location. So make sure you tune in then. And Vienna Theatre Project is going to be doing a cabaret show, which we will be putting also on sometime after. There we go. That's going to start going nicely now. So we'll be doing a cabaret show with Vienna Theatre Project online every evening from sometime after the 8th of February. And before that, we will have another one of our special readings with the live music of Godwin-Seidl, who you will get to meet live. Sorry, I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning working. Who you will get to meet live and hear him play live at the special reading, which we, if you've never seen it before, we do it in a very, very beautiful hotel. Samantha and I have the absolute pleasure of putting on very gorgeous dresses. It's a very lovely occasion. We have Kamiab actually with us instead of being in the computer. We actually do a team meeting, and that's a very special event, so make sure you tune into that on the 6th of February. More news on that at a later date, so keep watching out for our news. And without further ado, I am going, and my little pussycat, I'm going to start reading. And what I'm going to do, actually, because I have been up since 4, because I've been working very hard all day long, trying to get all these special meetings and cabaret evenings going. So I'm going to get super, super comfy today and wrap myself in my scarf, because it's all about being warm and snuggly today. So I'm going to turn Kamiab off. And there we are. Are you all sitting comfortably, children? Have you got your tea? Have you got a nice chair to sit on? I hope so. Then let us begin. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joanna Godwin-Seidl. You are listening to a reading of 1001 Nights, and I am your host. Now, when it was the 174th night, Scheherazade said, "It has reached me, O auspicious king," that Ibrahim, son of Al-Mahdi, continued, "So I put in my sleeve the purse whose weight was irksome to me and turned to depart. But when I came to the house door, he said, 'Oh, my lord, of a truth there is a safer hiding place for thee than any other, and thy keep is no burden to me. So do thou abide with me till Allah be pleased, grant thee relief.'" Thank you for the likes. Accordingly, I turned back, saying, "On condition that thou spend of the money in this purse." He made me think that he consented to this arrangement, and I abode with him some days in the utmost comfort But perceiving that he spent none of the contents of the purse, I revolted at the idea of abiding at his charge, and thought it shame to be a burden on him. So I left the house disguised in woman's apparel, donning short yellow walking boots and veil. Now, as soon as I found myself in the street, I was seized with excessive fear. And going to pass the bridge, behold, I came to a place sprinkled with water, where a trooper who had been in my service looked at me and, knowing me, cried out, saying, "This is he whom Al-Mamun wanteth." Then he laid hold of me, but the love of sweet life lent me strength, and I gave him and his horse a push which threw them down into that slippery place, so that he became an example to those who will take example, and the folk hastened to him. Meanwhile, I hurried my pace over the bridge and entered a main street, where I saw the door of a house open and a woman standing upon the threshold. So I said to her, Oh, my lady, have pity on me and save my life, for I am a man in fear." Quoth she, "Well, enter and welcome," and carried me into an upper dining room, where she spread me a bed and brought me food, saying, "Calm thy fear, for not a soul shall know of thee." As she spoke, lo, there came a loud knocking at the door. And I've lost my place. There came a loud, there we go. And she went and opened, and suddenly my friend, whom I had thrown down the bridge, appeared with his head bound up, the blood running upon his clothes, and without his horse. She asked, "Oh, so-and-so, what accident hath befallen thee?" And he answered, "I made prize of the young man whom Caliph seeketh, and he escaped from me." Whereupon he told her the whole story. So she brought out tinder and, putting into a piece of rag, bandaged his head, which she spread him, and then spread him a bed, and he lay sick. Then she came up to me and said, "Methinks thou art the man in question?" "Even so," answered I. And she said, "Fear not, no harm shall befall thee," and redoubled in her kindness to me. So I tarried with her for 3 days, at the end of which time she said to me, "I am in fear for thee, lest yonder man happen upon thee and betray thee to what thou dreadest, so save thyself by flight." I besought her to let me stay till nightfall, and she said, "Well, there is no harm in that." So, when the night came, I put on my woman's gear and betook me to the house of a freed woman who had once been my slave. When she saw me, she wept and made show of an affliction and praised Almighty Allah for my safety. Then she went forth as if she would go to the market, intent on hospitable thoughts, and I fancied all was right. But ere long, suddenly I espied Ibrahim al-Mosili making for the house amongst his troopers and servants, and led by a woman on foot. And looking narrowly at her, behold, she was the freed woman, the mistress of the house wherein I had taken refuge. She delivered me into their hands, and I saw death face to face. They carried me in my woman's attire to Al-Mamun, who called a general council and had me brought before him. When I entered, I saluted him by the title of Caliph, saying, Peace be on thee, O commander of the faithful. And he replied, Allah give thee neither peace nor long life. I rejoined, well, according to thy good pleasure, O commander of the faithful, it is for the claimant of blood revenge to decree punishment or pardon, but mercy in nigher to piety. And Allah has set thy pardon above all other pardon, even as he made my sin to excel all other sin. So if thou punish, it is of thine equity, and if thou pardon, it is of thy bounty. And I repeated these couplets. My sin to thee is great, but greater is thy degree. So take revenge, or else remit in clemency. And I in deeds have not been generous, generous be. Quoth Ibrahim, at this Al-Mamun raised his head to me, and I hastened to add these couplets. I've sinned, enormous sin, but pardon in thee lies. If pardon now, 'tis grace, justice, and thou chastise. Then Al-Mamun bowed his head and repeated, I am, when friend would raise a rage that more makes spittle choke me, sticking in my throat. His pardoner, and pardon his offence, fearing lest I should live a friend without. Quoth Ibrahim, now, when I heard these words, I scented mercy, knowing his disposition to clemency. Then he turned to his son, Al-Abbas, and his brother, Abu Ishaq, and all his chief officers there present, and said to them, what deem ye of his case? They all counselled him to do me dead, but they differed as to the manner of my death. Then said he to his wazir, Ahmad bin al-Khalid, and what sayest thou, O Ahmad? He answered, O commander of the faithful, and thou slay him, we find the like of thee who hath slain the like of him. But an thou pardon him, we find not the like of thee that have pardoned the like of him. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 275th night, Shahrazad said, it hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when Al-Mamun, Prince of the Faithful, heard the words of Ahmad bin al-Khalid, he bowed his head and began repeating, my tribe have slain that brother mine, Umayn, yet would shoot back that shafts at them I aim. If I deal pardon, noble pardon 'tis, and if I shoot, my bones 'twill only maim. And he also recited, be mild to brother mingling, what is wrong with what is right? Kindness to him continue, whether good or graceless might. Abstain from all reproaching, and he joy or vex thy sprite. Seest not that what thou lovest and what thou hatest go unite? That joys of longer life tide ever fade with hair turned white? That thorns on branches growing for the plucked fruit catch thy sight? Who never hath done evil, doing good for soul delight? When tried, the sons of worldliness they mostly work unright. Quoth Ibrahim, now, when I heard these couplets, I withdrew my woman's veil from my head and cried out with my loudest voice, Allah is most great. By Allah, the commander of the faithful, pardoneth me. Quoth he, no harm shall come to thee, uncle. And I rejoined, O commander of the faithful, my sin is too sore for me to excuse it, and thy mercy is too much for me to speak thanks for it. And I chanted these couplets in a lively motif. We made all graces all collected he, in Adam's loins our seventh imam for thee. Thou hast the hearts of men with reverence filled, and guarding all with heart humility. Rebelled I never by delusion whelmed, for object other than thy clemency. And thou hast pardoned me, whose like we ne'er pardoned before, though no man pled my plea. Hast pitied like little ones, like Katya's young, and mother's yearning heart a son to see. Quoth Mamun, I say, following our Lord Joseph, on whom and on our prophet be blessing and peace, let thee be no reproach cast on you this day. Allah forgiveth you, for he is the most merciful of those who show mercy. Indeed, I pardon thee, and pardon to restore thee thy goods and lands, O uncle, and no harm shall befall thee. Oh, so I offered up devout prayer to him and repeated these couplets. Thou hast restored my wealth, son's greed and ear, so didst thou deignest my blood to spare. Then if I shed my blood and wealth to gain thy grace till even shoon from foot I tear, 'twere but repaying what thou lentest me, and what unloaned no man to blame would care. Were I ungrateful for thy lavish boon, baser than now beneficent I were. Then Al-Mamun showed me honour and flavour, and said to me, O uncle, Abu Ishaq and Al-Abbas counselled me to put thee to death. So I answered, and they both counselled thee right, O commander of the faithful, but thou hast done after thine own nature, and hast put away what I feared with what I hoped. Rejoined Al-Mamun, O uncle, thou didst extinguish my rancour with the modesty of thine excuse, and I have pardoned thee without making thee drink the bitterness of obligation to intercessors. Then he prostrated himself in prayer a long while, after which he raised his head and said to me, O uncle, knowest thou why I prostrated myself? Answered I, haply. Thou didst this in thanksgiving to Allah, for that he hath given thee the mastery over thine enemy. He replied, such was not my design, but rather to thank Allah for having inspired me to pardon thee, and for having cleared my mind towards thee. Now, tell me thy tale. So I told him all that had befallen me with the barber, the trooper, and his wife, and with my freed woman who had betrayed me. So he summoned the freedwoman who was in her house, expecting the reward to be sent to her. And when she came before him, he said, What moves thee to deal thus with thy lord? Quoth she, Lust for money. And the Caliph asked the Caliph, Hast thou a child or a husband? And she answered, No. Whereupon he bade them give her 100 stripes of a whip and imprisoned her for life. Then he sent for the trooper and his wife and the barber surgeon and asked the soldier what had moved him to do thus. Lust for money, quoth he. Whereupon quoth the Caliph, It besitteth thee to be a barber cupper, and committed him to one to whom he charged him to place him in a barber cupper's shop, where he might learn the craft. But he showed honour to the trooper's wife, and lodged her in his palace, saying, This is a woman of sound sense and fit for matters of the moment. Then he said to the barber cupper, Verily, thou hast shown worth and generosity, which call for extraordinary honour. So he commanded the trooper's house and all that was therein to be given him, and bestowed on him a dress of honour, and in addition 15,000 dinars to be paid annually. And men tell the following tale concerning the city of the many-columned Iram, Abdullah, son of Abdi. It related that Abdullah bin Calabar went forth to quest of a she-camel, which had strayed from him, and as he was wandering in the deserts of Al-Yaman and the district of Sabah, behold, he came upon a great city girt by a vast castle, around which were palaces and pavilions that rose high into the middle air. He made for the place, thinking to find there folk of whom he might ask concerning his she-camel. But when he reached it, he found it desolate, without a living soul in it. So, quoth he, I alighted, and hobbling my dromedary, and Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Muhammad, the name of the book is The 1001 Nights, and it is a British translation by an author from the 19th century, and he was an explorer and an expeditioner actually, called Richard Burton. So that is who this translation is by. And actually, I wanted to show you all something today, because I've finished reading, I think. I hope I read all the right pages. It's a man who knows better than I. But I did get. So, I haven't, some of you will have watched some of our extraordinary readings where we have a special guest to come in and read. Oh, isn't that pretty? It's kind of sparkling in the film. So some of you will have met a couple of our special guests. Sam Madvar was one of them. Nina Fogg did a monologue. And a few times now already, We have had, let me see if I can just stop that a little bit and make the camera focus on me again. It's not going to work, is it? And we did have a special reading a few times now already by a British author who writes thrillers, political thrillers, very, very good ones. He writes these hotel stories as well. If you've never seen them before, I'll write it. I'll give his link afterwards on our Facebook page. So if any of you want to go onto our Facebook page and see a link to one of his readings and find out who that is, his name is Robert Pym. Anyway, Robert very kindly invited me over for tea yesterday, and he has had COVID already, so I was safe because I have not. So I'm always very careful who I meet and how I meet them. But he has had it, and we still, anyway, kept a distance from each other. And his father, many, 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 many years ago, gave Robert the volumes of 1001 Nights. And I didn't take all of the books because they're very, very precious and they're very, very beautiful, actually. And I was very worried about damaging them because I don't know if you can see, but it's got beautiful gold on the cover and it's very beautifully bound, and the writing on the side. The writing on the side is also in gold and everything, so it's a very, very beautiful book, and I didn't want to take on full. And also, unfortunately, because he thought maybe I might be able to read from them, but actually the text is quite small. And Saman and I, when we read, I print out all of our texts for us, and we have to read quite large because obviously we're reading in a very romantic, beautiful evening light with fires and everything else. So we actually end up reading our printouts, which are quite large. We increase the printing to 145% so that we can read the words very easily and never have to fumble over them too much. But this is a really, really, it's also not the Richard Burton translation, but aside from those things, it is the most beautiful book, and it has illustrations in it, and you know that beautiful smell that books have? I don't know whether many of you read on books on like your computer, on what were they called? I don't know, do they still have them? Those e-books, they're called e-books, aren't they? There's e-tablets where you can actually read books on the e-tablets, and but there's no fun in those. I've never had any interest in buying an e-tablet because there is something, even this my folder is, for example, my reading folder was given to me by a friend, so it has a very special, for a play that I directed him in, so it has a very special emotional value to me, and I like reading from this book, from my folder, very much. And even the there, you know, the paper, you can turn the paper, it sounds, it's got a beautiful crackling sound, right? But a proper book, now a proper book is a really gorgeous thing, right? And then be careful I don't get my lipstick on the pages. Those pages smell so beautiful. So thank you very, very much, Robert. I did say to him, initially I said, oh no, I wouldn't want to take your books because they're so precious, and they were given to him by his father. And they're very old already. But I did ask him to take one book that I might show you, a proper bound, beautiful book of 1001 Nights. And if anybody ever comes across the whole 17 volumes of the Richard Burton translation, which is actually bigger and longer than this translation. This translation was done from a French translation of the stories, a French writing down of the stories in 1958. Saman and I actually started reading this translation at the very beginning of our reading. So the very first two readings that we did, or three or four actually, I think, are this translation. And then one day we met some friends from the Middle East, and they were reading our translation, and they said, oh, it's so much nicer in the original language, because when you tell it, you know, the original tales in the original languages, because it's so much more flowery. And this is quite straight, the translation. So we went in search to see if we could find something else. And I wanted to show you something, because I I showed Robert the difference in the translations. So when we finish each night, okay, at the end of our nights, the nights always finish, and Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say, which I think is really, really beautiful, because of course the stories are about Shahrazad having to stay alive each night, wanting to stay alive the whole time by saying stories each night. And the king Suleiman permits her to say these stories, right? So she's permitted to say her say. And in this translation, so this is the 1958 translation. Ours is a translation made in the 19th century, right? So this translation, the ending is, at this point, Shahrazad saw the approach of morning and discreetly fell silent. Just doesn't have quite the same ring to it. It's a beautiful book. I love it. And thank you very much for lending it to me, Robert, and allowing me to show it to our viewers. But I do love our translation very, very much. I think it's very, very beautiful. And for those of you who are only just listening in and aren't going to listen to the rest of it, yes, thank you, Mohammed. I love the smell of old books. I really do. I think they're fabulous. I have a bit of an extensive library myself. You know, there are books that you read them once and you throw them away or you pass them. I never throw books away. I pass them on to somebody else, or I give them into some free book library somewhere. Or like, for example, in Vienna, by the way, any Viennese that are listening in, if you go to Bobby's in the 4th district, so anybody from Vienna, if you go to Bobby's in the 4th district, they have a free book library, and you can take any books that you don't want and put them on the bookshelf, which is really, really great. And any books that are on the bookshelf that you would like to have, you can simply take. Okay, so Bobby's food store in the 4th district on Vienna, I think is it Schleifmühlgasse, I think. There's a book exchange, and you can take your old books and you can get new books. So yeah, I have in my office, I have a huge collection of my favorite books, which I can't part with, because they were just so pleasurable to read when I read them. So I've kept those ones, and I have some coffee table books, which I really like as well. Some books on the Middle East as well, actually, because I really enjoyed traveling there. So yeah, I love books very, very much. And Sman and I are having huge pleasure reading this. I have to say, we never thought we would. We thought we'd do this for the first lockdown and then stop, but we can't stop reading because we enjoy it very, very much. So, which reminds me, don't forget, on the 6th of February, we will be having one of our special readings where Kamyab Saderi will be playing live again for us, rather than just hearing him off our computers. I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning because I had to go to a meeting at 6 a.m. And then I never, ever... The address of what, Mohammed? What address would you like of? Do you live in Vienna? Then I can definitely send you the address of the... Or just look, I'll post the address of the bookshop on... But you have to live in Vienna, obviously, because you have to go... And you have to go and pick up the books and exchange them. So if you live in Vienna, absolutely no problem. I'll put the link to Bobby's bookshop on our page. Then you can just click on that and see what it is. I will also put the link to Kamyab's music on our page again, and also the link to Robert Pym's readings, because they are an awful lot of fun. He does these readings set in hotel. Some of his readings are his readings of his hotel stories, where he has a hotel manageress who always has very funny stories about her guests coming to visit her hotel in different places around the world. And then, as I said, he's also a political crime thriller novelist, and he's read some of the excerpts of those books as well. So, ladies and gents, it has been an absolute pleasure reading for you this evening. Saman will be back with you, I assume, all things going well, on Tuesday. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful Saturday, Sunday and Monday. Have a good night's sleep tonight. If your day is just starting and your Friday is only just beginning, then I wish you the very best of Fridays. So from my living room, my Jin's lamp and my hearth fire, to you, I send you many, many blessings. Stay safe wherever you are in the world. Look after yourselves and your loved ones. Give yourself a big personal hug. And I wish you all a very wonderful, excellent. Then Mohammed, look at the link afterwards and I'll give you that. Yes, I'll tell you. It's called Bobby's Food Store and it's on Schleifmühlgasse in the 4th district. I will post the link afterwards, Mohammed, on this page, on the Vienna Theatre Project Facebook page. So you can get the link and you can see how you can get there. The other one, I don't know if you know, this is just food stores, by the way. I'm going to tell a few people selling for food stores in Vienna. If you're really interested in a food store that sells, I don't know if you know it, but there's a food store in the 7th district called, I'll add the link of that food store as well, that sells all sorts of food types from all over the world. You can get black beans, you can get Indian spices, you can get Cuban spices, you can get Chinese food, everything possible. It's called, I know the name of the owner, but I can't think of the store name. Anyway, but that's in the 7th district. So I will tell you, I will write that and put a link on that one as well, right? So that you know where to get a really great place, a really great supermarket, very big, where you can get lots of stuff from Brazil, India, Iran, everywhere, China, everywhere you can possibly imagine. So Korean food as well, British food, American stuff. So I'll put that link up as well. Guys, I've talked a long time again, more than I expected to. It's been an absolute pleasure, as I said. Many blessings to you. Do take care of yourself. See you next week. And don't forget, on the 6th of February, we will be having a special reading again in a different hotel this time, in a very, very beautiful hotel, 5-star hotel in Vienna, in beautiful dresses, with Kamyab, doing live music, with our Genie's lamp with us as well. And we very much look forward to doing that for you. Otherwise, next week, see you again for our in-house, in-living room, Hearthfire Pussycat readings. Okay? Bye-bye, everybody. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.